Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe. According to Big C and them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners across the pond in London, England, and also Paris, France. And of course, you good old boys from Canada. I even Googled the Canadian national anthem today, Big C, and I still don't understand more than two lines. I'm going to say, "Whoa, Canada, our home and native land." And what a shame they're not in the chasing the Stanley's Cup, Big C, but there's still no one I love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for all you good old boys? Yeah, yeah.
And hopefully you didn't jinx Ottawa. You know, this is the Eastern semifinals, Charlton. So they're going to be holding their collective breaths up in Canada after you do this little
Well, I think it's done. I got some friends down in Vegas told me don't worry about buying airline tickets to Canada, Big C, but we'll see if they're good. They lied to me before, Big C, when they had me on the hook, and Draymond Green fouled with 5 seconds left, Big C. I want to say today is a beautiful May the 25th, 2017, and it's just been a great year for sports so far. Everybody's looking for what they want, and Cleveland trying to close out the Boston Celtics, and they've shown a lot more moxie than I thought they would, Big C. But what else would you expect when Danny Ainge is in part of your organization? Lots of talk on, will Magic Johnson build the Lakers back? Lonzo Ball telling Danny Ainge no, he doesn't want to drink the Boston tea parties drink that they do before the games, Big C. But a lot of good things going on in the world of sports. But Big C, what's happening in your neck of the woods?
Everybody's excited about that. You know, the Predators have a true leader in PK Subban, who came from the Montreal Habs a couple of years ago in a trade.
Yeah.
And, you know, he has really solidified this organization down here and got them into the Stanley Cup for the first time in their 18-year existence. So everybody's sitting around on all highs down in Nashville.
Yeah.
So they're doing more than just eating ribs down there.
They do more than each rib. And I want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. So, Big C, I know when we look at two great sports, one of them we have the NHL, and they're in the playoffs. We also have the NBA, they're in the playoffs. As far as TV ratings go, nothing compares to the NBA playoff times outside of the NFL. So I know there are more people watching NBA basketball than they are in the hockey, Big C. But just want to get your thoughts. Someone who's followed Canadian sports, you know, very admirably. I just want to get your feeling. Do people go home and make it a game? Do they make it a day to watch this playoff game coming up, this final playoff game coming up, arguably? In California or even in the United States, people make Super Bowl Sunday. That's a day they plan for. They make the Masters, at least on Sunday, the day they plan for. In Canada, are people rushing to the TV sets to see this game that could be the final game tonight, Big C? Your thoughts?
In Canada, they are, Charlton. I mean, it's still a national event going on in Canada right now, tonight, you know, because it's so synonymous with that country.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is what they do.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they can't get away from that. You know, their whole country's emotion is riding on this Game 7. Will they have a team in the Stanley Cup?
Yeah.
You know, that's what they're looking at, and that's what they're praying for. You know, here in the U.S., if you look in western Mississippi,
Yeah.
there's really no interest.
Yeah.
You know, you got Pittsburgh, you know, that's on the eastern coast, as well as Canada's on the east coast.
Yeah.
So, realistically, there's nothing there that really attracts Western America.
Yeah, and you know, as far as speaking of attracting, you know, we talk about being the number one sports show in the universe, Big C, and I do believe that's true based on the votes. There's no hanging chads as far as I understand, and we're not under investigation by the FBI, so we feel pretty good. We could even mention Kobe's name, but I do want to say one of the most iconic motion pictures in the history of the world, and I'll say in the history of the universe, Star Wars turns 40 years old. Okay, if you think about Star Wars, for 40 years, can you imagine going back 40 years and Darth Vader is still the baddest cat in the universe? Big C, your thoughts? Yeah.
When you think of that Star Wars, you know, originally it was a trilogy. Now it's been a whole album.
It's like Rocky now. It's like Rocky.
They keep putting movies together and stuff, but I think the next one that comes out may be the last one, Charlton. But, it's been such an iconic movie structure throughout the fabric of America. When
Yeah.
you think about the generationals that have been involved in the Star Wars, the people who dress up for the convention,
Yeah.
who follow all of the insignia around the country, around the world.
Yeah.
It's been a worldwide phenomenon. When you think about an individual having that much of an impact on lives around the world, George Lucas did it.
Oh, yeah.
And he did it in a great way that allowed people to find an inner child that they had, Charlton.
Yeah.
To bring that out and not be embarrassed about it and be embraced by other people around the world.
Yeah, I think someone else that was inspired by Darth Vader would be Donald Trump, because Donald Trump also thinks he has the most powerful authority in the universe. I think they're trying to prove him wrong. But just going back to some of the characters in Star Wars, those little robots, I think it's CP3O, and then there was also R2D2, the guy that looks like one of your friends. What's his name? Chewbacca, that big hairy dude that you guys go alligator hunting. Chewbacca. Okay. Yeah, I knew you knew his name. And then I liked Landros Calrissian, who played by the great Billy D. Williams. He was off the hook. Harrison Ford, of course. And they're just Carrie Fisher, Luke Skywalker, all these guys that were great. And then we talk about something that we even athletes use it also. A lot of athletes call it being in the zone. But in Star Wars, they called it using the Force. Now, I want to ask you your thoughts when we talk about athletes, because there's so much talk now that is LeBron James the real thing? Is he better than Michael Jordan? Is he going to be someone that can replace someone like Michael Jordan when you say the best ever? Well, people had the same thoughts when you talked about Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. LeBron's going to have to show that he is the alpha male. He doesn't have to go undefeated in the playoffs. That's not going to happen, obviously. But if he can use the Force, Big C, would he be considered, if they get a championship and knock off Golden State, does he jump into the upper echelon of the guy that has 6 championships in King Jordan, Big C?
Everybody uses Jordan as a staple with 6 championships.
Yeah.
That's not even close to the crescendo of what you want to look at as championships.
Yeah.
K.C. Jones turned 82 years old today, Charlton.
Wow, happy birthday.
K.C. Jones has 9 championships with the Boston Celtics, okay?
Yeah.
9. 2 behind the great Bill Russell.
Yeah.
But you think about it, and they were college teammates together at USF, so not only did he have the 2 NCAA championships, Charlton, he has the 9 championships with the Celtics as a player. Not only that, Charlton, he has 2 more as a coach of the Celtics, all right?
Yeah.
And he also did another finals. Ironically, in 1975, he coached the Washington Bullets against the Golden State Warriors, who swept them in 4 games. So he has had a multitude of championship appearances. So I always get a little perplexed when they say Jordan. And I'm not knocking the greatness of Michael Jordan. He has a generation of ESPN people who followed him.
Yeah.
The other greats, Charlton, didn't have instant sports 24 hours a day to pay attention to their careers. You have to go back and read in the history annals, and we don't have too many people in America that's left that are literate anymore.
Well, wait, hold on, Big C. There are people, the Russians are literate. They even know how to put things on tape. I knew some of the good old boys back in the day in college. I always learned, if you go into a meeting, put it on tape, record it. I think is it live or Memorex? If you put things on tape, oftentimes they don't go away. They can pass on, like in Star Wars, for generations to come, Big C. So I disagree. You say people don't read in the United States. Now, they don't have to be American, but they still read, Big C. Your thoughts?
That is so true. But, I think about those greats of the past. They will never get the credit in today's time for what they produce. And you think about those great Celtic teams for decades. They just went out there and won unconditionally. That's what they did. And they performed as a team unit.
Yeah.
They didn't sit there and say that this guy was a superstar. K.C. Jones was no more the superstar on the team than Bill Russell was.
Yeah.
Sam Jones was no more the superstar on the team than Bill Russell or K.C. Jones.
Yeah.
But here in this generation now, Jonathan, you have to single out one player as being the best player on the team.
Yeah.
LeBron is more of a facilitator with his team than he is a dominant player, Jonathan. He's not a great shooter. He can shoot, he can score.
Yeah.
He's not a great shooter. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love are the best 2 shooters on the team. LeBron facilitates to everybody, but he gets his point.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him so good, is that he's an overall defensively, and assist-wise, Johnson.
Yeah.
That's what gives him the upper hand over players in today's game.
Yeah.
Because his game is so well-rounded. Now, when people want to sit there and say apples or oranges, when he and Jordan, there's no comparison.
Yeah.
You know, they're both different players in their own time. You know, it's like even the stopgap between LeBron James and Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Was Kobe Bryant the best player in the game for 4 or 5 years during that time? You know, that's a conversation that never comes up.
Yeah.
So when people want to talk about the greatest, Charlton, you realistically have to look. It's not about rings. It's about what guys have done, because they will never eclipse Casey Jones and Bill Russell when it comes to rings.
Yeah, and that's always true, Big C. Sometimes we say if you don't have a championship, you're not great, but we know that's not the case. So many great players don't have a championship, but they still are considered one of the best ever. Just want to get your thoughts. I know we talk about different sports, Big C, and the NFL, just throwing around the NBA and the NFL, I think Roger Goodell is starting to lighten up a little bit and allow players to say, get your popcorn ready. The great T.O. did that, you know, using the Sharpie down in his sock when they played up in Seattle. And I just want to get your thoughts. It's a good thing, I believe, letting guys, you know, it's a tough game. It's a game where people put everything they have into just making the team, let alone being great on the field. Let the guys celebrate, because the fans pay to see more than just someone who's going to score a touchdown and get the ball to the officials. Big C, your thoughts?
I think overall what Roger Goodell is trying to do is buffer for that 2020 contract that they have coming up. He's trying to make the players think in the NFL that they're in a partnership. They're not. It's not like the NBA where you're in a partnership with the owners.
Yeah.
It's like in Major League Baseball where you're in partnership with the owners. Even in the NHL. The NFL is not. The NFL is collusion with the owners. They own everything. They give the players a little bit.
Yeah.
But they don't have the say-so as the other professional leagues. But what Roger Goodell is trying to do is position himself for this 2020 contract coming up, saying that he's not as harsh as what people think that he is.
Yeah.
Even though he has been the judge, juror, and crucifixion of everybody over the past few years, Charlton. When you think of some of the fines and suspensions that he has levied out on players without any player having any recourse, it's just been what he is saying.
Yeah.
And he thinks by allowing a little celebration, which is what the fans play for, Charlton.
Yeah.
They come in, they want to see these grown men who are doing a tremendous job physically on the field be able to celebrate after, you know, these hard-fought touchdowns are achieved.
Yeah.
But anyone who never appreciated an end zone celebration, Charlton, it's been real simple.
Yeah.
Keep them butts out of the end zone. They can't dance.
That's what we hear over the years. You know, talk around the NFL being more relaxed up at Seattle Seahawks. And, of course, this happens in every camp. It's not really news. But when it happens, it does, you know, get attention. You know, they have a great cornerback up there, that Sherman. Well, he's having some issues with Pete Carroll. Maybe just publicity, who knows. But arguably, he said some things to Russell Wilson that he sucked when he picked off a pass in practice. And they've been having a lot of fights up in Seattle. I don't know if they're fighting over fish. You know how they throw those fish out in the market and guys are trying to jump over each other to get it? But they're fighting in practice. But, Big C, that's a good thing. I think coaches like to see a little edge on some guys. They don't want everyone out there shaking hands, even though they say that for TV. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, Charlton, you know, one of the things I've always admired about professional athletes is they have the ability to walk away from their contracts.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But they don't.
Yeah.
You know, ironically, so they want to be somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, they may want to bring a little more focus on themselves.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to walk in and say, hey, I quit. Because I didn't like the call that the coach made, I quit.
Yeah.
Cut me. They're not saying that.
Yeah.
So what they're trying to do is bring a little more attention to themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe even to the organization. So all of this stuff is a facade when you look at it. But who talks about it? The media.
Yeah.
You hear the media father to go out there with and say, hey, they got a problem in Seattle. There's no problem in Seattle because nobody's quit.
Yeah.
All right? Nobody's been cut. Nobody's been traded.
No.
Players and coaches never get along 100% of the time. But like I said, they all have the ability to walk away. You know, we've seen that with Calvin Johnson when he walked away from Detroit. Barry Sanders when he walked away from Detroit. And dozens of other players over the years, Charles, even more recently with players that's been retiring because of the threat of concussions and CTE.
Yeah.
They've walked away from the game. So these players who have been loudmouths over time, who've always sought the extra attention, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
Even Marshawn Lynch, who is in Oakland now, walked away because he didn't want to play anymore. So any time that you want to walk away from an organization as a player, you have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
But the media is so infantile is that they want to say, wow, we got a real story here.
Yeah.
There's animosity. No damn animosity.
No, if they want to see any animosity caused when you get cut, that's when you get animosity at Big C. But guys fighting in practice, they're not trying to hurt each other. It's just like dogs barking, not trying to hurt. They're just trying to establish a territory at Big C. And speaking of establishing some territory, there's still some talk up here in the Bay Area about the great Colin Kaepernick, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions last year. And I hear guys, and it sounds like this. Well, do you think he really has the ability to play football this year? Do you think he still can play? And if you think about, Google the facts, Big C, if you just Google facts, 16 touchdowns, 4 picks on a bad team, that tied Tom Brady. Tom Brady played on a great team, but Colin Kaepernick still amassed some touchdowns and interceptions. Would that mean that he can still play, Big C? Your thoughts?
No one addresses the issue of Colin Kaepernick. What happened to him the past 2 seasons, Charles?
Yeah.
He had 2 very inept head coaches, okay?
Yeah.
Jim Thomasula and Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
Neither one of these guys can coach on the NFL level.
Yeah.
And yet Colin Kaepernick got all the blame for it. They made all the money. He got all the blame.
Yeah.
You look at Brock Osweiler. Brock Osweiler had less touchdown passes than Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
But he has a job, and he's making $15 million this year.
Wow.
Mike Glennon hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in 2.5 years when he was in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
He signed with the Bears a 3-year deal for $47 million.
Wow.
So can a guy play? I mean, realistically, you have to sit up and look at the free agent quarterbacks that were signed this year in the NFL. And did any of these free agent quarterbacks throw more touchdown passes and less interceptions than Colin Kaepernick?
Well, see,
that is a true ledger right there, Charlie. It's about racism with Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Sit there and say, well, do you think he can still play?
Yeah.
The difference with Colin Kaepernick and even Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson has the same coach he had when he went to his last AFC Finals. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick has had 3 different coaches since then.
Yeah.
So to say that Colin Kaepernick can't play, the organization could not protect him, Charles.
I think, Big C, what it comes down to is, you're right, it's about bias, and we got to be honest about that. And I think we're the only honest sports show out there, because that's why we're number 1 in the universe, because we just go about the facts like Walter Cronkite. And speaking of facts, I want to say sports is $1 billion industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this $1 billion industry. And when you need athletics insurance, you go through Big C Sports. We go through Benchmark. They've been around half a century. We got you covered in all 50 states as well as all over the universe. Even Darth Vader could get coverage. He doesn't play sports, so he just destroys things, Big C. But we can probably still get him some coverage too. Tweet out to Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. I want to touch a little bit more in the world of football. Beast mode and the OTAs over in Oakland. And Coach Del Rio likes the way things are coming along. And I just think about Oakland and what they're doing. And I saw there was an article about the stadium coming together in Las Vegas. And will it be done in time enough for them to land a Super Bowl? Could you imagine bringing the Super Bowl to the state of Nevada and the city of Las Vegas? I think that would be more money being made under the table, if that makes any sense, Big C, than on the table, Big C. Your thoughts?
I think the most ironic part, what if the Raiders won the Super Bowl the year before they went to Las Vegas?
Wow.
How ironic would that be to the NFL that you take a team that is a Super Bowl champion and displace them into another city?
Yeah.
Saying that they didn't have the following, you got the finance from another city.
Yeah.
How much of a black eye, literally, would that be on the NFL?
Yeah.
That you just win now, baby.
Yeah.
And they go out and win it, Charlton.
Yeah.
They win it all. And now all of a sudden they can be transplanted to another city. That would not bode well in the NFL in any kind of way, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's the tough part about it. I mean, going to Vegas, it's going to be an intriguing scenario.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with the young players going to Vegas, those unestablished players who don't have families and all that social life that you can have in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
When they go down there, there's so many distractions just for the normal person.
Wait a minute. Wait. Now, do normal people go to Vegas? Can you afford Vegas if you're a normal person, Big C? You can't stay in the Bellagio if you're a normal person, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you go there and take 5 or 6 roommates, Charlie.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm talking about a young man who's 22 years old, Charlie,
Yeah.
has $1 million, bank account, and things seem endless.
Yeah.
And a while.
Yeah.
But after a while, you're going to start paying. And, you get a little tired. You run all day.
Yeah.
You can't run all night up and down the strip. One of them's going to wear out.
I remember.
This will cost a lot of young players their livelihood, Charlton, being in Las Vegas.
I thought I was doing great back in the day. I was down in Las Vegas, and they put us up in the Bellagio, I think at a 30-something foot, and I thought I was doing good, Big C, and, feeling pretty good about myself. And then out of some elevator, in the other row of elevators, comes this tall guy. It looked like he was like 6'10". It was Dr. J, Big C. He didn't have the afro as big, but Dr. J, I was like, man, how do you get up to that room? He said, you got to be Dr. J to get up to the bigger rooms, Big C. So at least I could, walk in the same presence of the great Dr. J. But, something about Vegas, a lot of people are going to love it. Everybody's going to be happy, maybe on their P's and Q's. It's just going to be it's kind of like the boys club. I think the Rat Pack used to always go to Las Vegas back in the day. I think it was Sammy Davis Jr. There was Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. They made Vegas not necessarily famous, but more notable for the LA Stars. But now the average guy can go down there and at least walk on the same sidewalks, because if that makes any sense. I just want to touch on a little bit of Major League Baseball because it's not really relevant right now because everybody's looking at the NHL and the NBA. But in the American League East, you have New York. They're in first place. In the Central, you have Minnesota. They're in first place at 25-18. New York's 26-17. In the West, you have Houston in a surprise. They're 31-15 in first place by 7 games, Big C. And that's in the American League. In the National League, you have Washington. They're at 27-17 in first place by 6.5 games. You have the Milwaukee. They're in the Central at 25-21. And Colorado's 30-17. Thinking of baseball, Roberto Colon, I think he's 45 years old. He's actually starting for Atlanta. Now, how do you throw a baseball in the major leagues when you're 45 years old, Big C, if that makes any sense? I got to know, he must know where the moonshine connection is, Big C. Your thoughts, Roberto Colon?
Well, when you look at Roberto Colon, he weighs about 300 pounds, something.
Yeah.
This man, he's throwing with a lot of good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you can pitch in baseball, you can pitch.
Yeah.
Atlanta's had a history of older pitchers when you think about it. You think about Gaylord Perry.
Yeah.
Years ago when he pitched into his mid-40s with the Atlanta Braves, even though he was known more for his spitball and his knuckler than anything else. The Braves,
and they was real spit from what I understand too, Big C.
In the South, they've been known for using older pitchers.
Yeah, and we know there's an elixir that they can use that helps them get through the pain of it also, Big C. So just congratulations to anybody that can do anything, at 45 years of age. I'm always admiring guys who stay in shape, but he kind of debunks all the rules about being in shape because he's not in shape, Big C, but like you're right, that gut has some type of force in it. He can really get things done. And as we always like to pay, homage to all the great people around the country, we cover from pro athletes to college athletes. I just want to say a little praise for the national top 25 high school baseball teams. We'll run down the top 10 because we want the young guys to know that Big C Sports won't forget about them either. Shawnee, Oklahoma's 40-0. How do you win 40 baseball games, Big C, without losing? Number 2, Archbishop McCarthy out of Southwest Ranches, Florida. They're 27-2. Number 3, Huntington Beach, California, 28-4. Down in beautiful Southern California. Rancho Bernardo of San Diego. They're 28-3. Woodlawn out of Ryson, Arkansas is 34-1. Cathedral, Indianapolis is 22-0. Eastlake out of Chula Vista, California. A lot of West Coast teams in this top 10. They're 27-3, followed by number 8, Buchanan of Clovis, California. They're 27-3. The last 2, Riverdale Baptist, Upper Marlboro, Maryland, 30-1. And number 10, La Cueva out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. They are 28-1, Big C. So congratulations, all you good old boys in the high school level playing baseball at the highest level. Big C, as we get ready to wrap on our final 5 minutes of the program today, I think so many things are going on in the world of sports and politics, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about POTUS, going across the seas and all the things going on in the White House. And I know it's a kind of refreshing for people not to see a lot of the tweets going out because he's hired his own lawyer now. Have you heard of a president trying to hire his own lawyer because he's under investigation? And I think he said, if you're innocent, why do you need lawyers, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, he did make that statement, Charlton, but his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, came out today that the FBI has him as a person of interest in this investigation.
Yeah.
So, this is right there with the White House, because he's been a part of this campaign from day one. Matter of fact, he met Europe today with his wife, Ivanka, to back to America because he's under scrutiny by the FBI. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting closer and closer to POTUS as far as all this investigation is going.
Yeah.
You can hire all the attorneys you want, and yet you spoke about it. He's down on his tweets since he's been over in Europe.
Yeah.
Because he's a little panicky right now.
Yeah.
And so, he's realized that he's shot off his mouth too many times.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, he went on stage today to embarrass the members of NATO, out in public. And so that didn't bode well with them. This is the alliance of the nations who have stood by each other,
Yeah.
Since World War II.
Yeah.
And he's going to step out there with no political experience in the past, and he's going to berate these leaders, 27 leaders of other world countries.
Wow.
That they're underclass.
Yeah, and that's a shame because we expect the best from the Oval Office, no matter whether you're Democrat or Republican. I talked to some of my most strident Republican friends, and I've been Democrat and Republican. People tend to vote with their pocketbook, but I'm telling you, I believe in social justice for everybody. And when I hear some of the strident supporters for Trump, they're a bit embarrassed. And I think even if you look at Paul Ryan, they know the end is coming, but they're trying to save face because they could be kicked out of office too, Big C. It's all about who's going to vote for these people. And when it comes up, 40-year anniversary for Star Wars, and they're saying that 23 million Americans can be uninsured with Trump if the Trump bill passes, what they call Trump Care passes. 23 million, Big C. That's a joke. Even if you are a dumb person, not having insurance in this day and age, you have to be more than dumb, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this is what the rich will do, Charlton, because they can afford whatever type of insurance is out there. And you got to think about it. Those insurance companies are supporters of him.
Yeah.
And so if they don't have to pay out, then that's even more money in their pockets.
Yeah.
As they're looking at it for their shareholders.
Yeah.
You would think that America was worth a little more than just shareholders in a stock plan, Charlton.
Yeah.
The health of America meant a little more than somebody else getting a few extra dollars in their pocket.
Yeah.
The value of life, people have always talked about the value and quality of life in America.
Yeah.
You think about the sports leagues, they provide the best of health coverage
Oh, yeah.
for players.
Yeah.
Because they want optimum performance, Charlton, and to keep those players safe.
Yeah.
But here it is, the fan who goes and watches the game, a lot of them can't even afford health insurance.
Yeah.
Because they want to be fans. They got to decide, do I go to the game or do I buy health insurance?
Yeah.
And Americans should not have to be put in that position,
No.
to make that decision. It should be a right to every American to be able to afford health insurance. Not a privilege, but a right to afford it.
Yeah, I agree with that, Big C. If you're paying taxes, which Donald Trump doesn't, you should at least be able to get some health care. We can come up with missiles and bombs, what's it called, the mother of all bombs, to drop on a country and then go over across the pond and talk to the Pope. What's he praying to the Pope for? He just said that Mexicans in America are murderers and rapists, and now he's going to go put his hand on a wall, that he wants to build a wall in the United States to block off other human beings that he considers less than him. And then he's going to go pray to the Pope. I know the Pope is about forgiveness, but can't the Pope shout him out? I mean, I understand about being forgiven, but at some point in time, if the Pope won't say you're wrong and you're crooked, who can, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, ironically, Charlton, that conversation wasn't recorded.
Yeah.
And I think for good measure, because the Pope does not hold his tongue when he's talking about wrong and injustice.
Yeah.
In the world.
Yeah.
And I know he recognizes a lot of that with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He even spoke about it during the campaign.
Yeah.
About how egregious that this man was in the statements that he was making. So there was no recordings that were at least let out about the conversation between these two gentlemen, Charlton.
Yeah.
So the Pope, was going to he doesn't have to hold back in his feelings and thoughts when he speaks to somebody.
Yeah.
He is his holiness. He has the right to speak. He represents millions and millions of people in this world, Charlton.
Yeah.
He is their holy leader. And when he speaks to Donald Trump, who is not a man of faith, I don't care how he fits up and wants to portray it.
Yeah.
This trip to see the Pope was a farce.
Yeah.
Trump cannot be a man of faith and sit up and talk about being a racist, Charlton.
Yeah, I understand, Big C. So we know Big C Sports, we bring it all together. And I love going against the grain because I find that a lot of mainstream media just dumb or they're ignorant. They got to stand in one line of being dumb or ignorant. very few will tell you the truth. There are a lot of things I hear you come up with, Big C, after a couple sips of moonshine, and CNN will broadcast it later, about a week later, Big C, and some of the other networks. But we all love the fact that sports will bring people together. We don't always have to agree. We can disagree, but at least be fair. Give everybody equal opportunity. And speaking of that equal opportunity, Big C, as we close the program today on this beautiful May 25th, 2017, we've talked about the NBA, we've talked about the NHL, some Major League Baseball, some NFL football. I want to ask you, Big C, what are you looking forward to now that some of that moonshine is starting to get filled up for you good old boys down south of the NHL? Chase, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, we know that this is Game 7 in the NHL Eastern Conference Championship.
Yeah.
And the winner will go to Stanley's Cup.
Yeah.
So that's a done deal. But it's very imperative for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Jonathan, tonight to close this series out against the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
Last game when Kyrie Irving turned that ankle, you don't want to have him sitting there with a Kawhi Leonard scenario.
No.
So he goes out and turns to the game, and now you're pushing this to Game 6 and potentially Game 7.
Yeah.
You have to go out and put a finish on the Boston Celtics. When you have them down, you can't take your foot off the throat, as they say in athletics.
Yeah.
And so this is a game that it is imperative that they finish up tonight. Just looking forward to a great weekend. This game, you got 2 games tonight to be done, Charlie.
Yeah.
And just getting excited about June 1st when it all begins.
Well, Big C, that's always great. And also, it begins where it started. What Michael Jordan said, the roof is the ceiling. Well, 40 years for Star Wars, 40 years for Big C, doing this thing in the world of broadcast every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Darth Vader and them good old boys down south. I want to say, every show we tell you, there's never any excuse for hitting a woman. Never put your hands on a woman. If you see anyone going through that garbage, just call 911 so she won't have to deal with it on her own. And as we tell you for every program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.